Shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt, weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Xumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Xumo.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Hey, thanks for joining me tonight. It's Sunday. It's Palm Sunday for Christians. I think if you're an Orthodox Christian, it may be delayed another week or two. But thanks again for taking your time to listen in to tonight's commentary. We've got a lot on our plate tonight. Look, they threw Peter Navarro, aged, I think, 76, 71, something like that. Trump's former trade ambassador. They threw him in the clinker on Tuesday. Yep, they sent him down to a Florida jail in Miami, put him in prison, 4-month sentence. He'll probably serve 90 days. We're going to talk to one of his primary assistants when he was served under Trump about that very thing. As you know, we've got 2 tiers of justice here, not just at the national level, but very locally. And so we're going to also talk with McHenry County State's Attorney Patrick Keneally about that federal judge issuing a ruling saying that illegals, people here who are here illegally, go ahead, you can have a firearm. And it sounds like you can just shoot it off into traffic if you wanted to, because that's exactly the ruling that she made. So we're going to talk to him about that as well. Nothing's happening down in Springfield. I'll run through a couple bills, but one of the bills that passed out of committee, is a bill that requires state agencies to make determinations about what is the potential global warming of appliances that they're going to purchase, and set a maximum amount of global warming potential that these appliances can have. And so we're going to talk to Steve Gorham about that, because that's a whole bunch of BS, if you ask me. So we'll get an expert's opinion on that. Of course, we have the watchdogs who are going to cover a massive theft that occurred in a very small town in the state of Illinois. But the lady stole, she had a gambling addiction. Looks like she stole millions of dollars from her small town. Not quite a Crudwell-Dixon level of corruption, but certainly enough to make you shake your head and wonder what the hell's going on. So we're going to talk about that as well with the watchdogs. We've got a full night. It's the phone number here if you want to weigh in, 312-642-5600. So if you have my cell phone number, you can text me a question too, or a comment if you like to. I'm not going to give that out though. But there was also this report too that I found very interesting. And apparently, I don't know if this is a shocker to anybody, but Illinois, according to an updated analysis by MoneyGeek, is the least tax-friendly state in the nation. Yes, we get an F. That's right. We get an F in that regard. Is anybody surprised? Illinois ranked 50th in the country, according to Rocket Mortgage's property tax rankings, with the average annual property tax set at about $9,000. The effective rate for that was the second highest in the country at over 2%. Of course, New Jersey's number 1. So this is a total assessment of where a typical family would sit when you weigh property taxes, sales taxes, income taxes, gas taxes. And so MoneyGeek did this ranking, and no surprise, the states with no income taxes all ended up scoring pretty high in MoneyGeek's ratings. Those states would be Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. If you're thinking of getting out of Illinois, those might be ones you want to consider. The way that they did this study, that was interesting. MoneyGeek looked at how a hypothetical family would pay, what they would pay in taxes if they were a married couple with one dependent. Now, I don't know if that's a typical family, but that's what they used. They said that family had a gross income of $94,003, which is the median national income at the time of the research. And they had a home worth an average out of about $320,900, which is the median price of a new home. And the lower the taxes on this hypothetical average family, the better the grade. And of course, Illinois ended up in last place. Last place. So that's kind of concerning. Everybody should be concerned about it. And if you thought that your state legislators were doing anything about that, no, not at all. Nothing. They're not doing anything down there. I was looking at some of the bills that passed out of committee in the House. There's something here on student records transfers, something on home modification program that has to deal with veteran disability folks, something on property taxes, but not lowering your property taxes, just about reissue decisions, how you have to pay, something on electric school buses, some sort of thing on some bus permits for as well, school bus permits, a change to a speed limit. This is earth-shattering stuff, I'm telling you. Absolutely earth-shattering stuff. And then, you get the same thing in the Senate. The Senate did essentially nothing. There was one bill that I thought that was interesting here. They talked about a fire sprinkler inspectors. Another bill adds, another bill, and I think this is Rachel Ventura's bill. I could be wrong here. I'm trying to find it. Well, I'll have to look for that. Another bill allows non-citizens now to become firefighters. So police officers, now you can have firefighters that are non-citizens too. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here. Just making it easier for them. Meanwhile, we've got that federal judge again, and we're going to talk about that with the state's attorney allowing this illegal to have a weapon. And meanwhile, I think for me, that just means she nullified the FOID card at this point. The guy didn't have a FOID card. He did a street transaction to get the gun. That was unlawful. He's here unlawfully. He shot into traffic unlawfully, and he gets to keep his gun. So as far as I can tell, there's essentially no gun laws that should be applied to any a citizen in Illinois. So she's going to let that happen. On another note, and I wrote about this in my newsletter. If you didn't get that, you can go to breakthrough-ideas.com and you can sign up for it and check out our new website. It's much more user-friendly and much more organized and just visually a lot better. But I did talk about this, and I said, Eileen O'Neill Burke's race against Clayton Harris is tightening with every single day that they bring in more vote by mail. And the concerning thing here really is that her lead has consistently dwindled while the Chicago Board of Elections has said, we know there's X amount of ballots that are coming in, and we think that we're going to be finished by Saturday. And lo and behold, guess what happens on Saturday? They find a whole nother pile of ballots, 10 to 11,000 more ballots that they forgot to include in the count. So now they were recounting today. I have not heard what the count is from that, if her lead has dwindled or not, or if maybe she's increased her lead. Who knows? They're probably legitimate ballots. The point is they didn't include them in the original count, saying we have this many outstanding ballots that have not been turned in. They didn't even include them, which tells you if that's your only job is to count ballots and secure ballots, don't you think you should know exactly what that count is and exactly where they're secured? This is a glaring mistake, and it's a cause to make people suspicious about the process. And so I wrote about this. I mean, on election night, Burke was up over 9,000 votes. On March 20th, she was up 8,800 votes. March 21st, 8,152 votes she was up. March 22nd, she was up about 6,800 votes. March 23rd, she was up 4,771 votes. So her lead has dwindled substantially. And then now they just found another 10 to 11,000 ballots that need to be counted. It's very concerning because if anybody followed the Frank DeFranco case, and I actually posted this entire synopsis of what happened in Frank DeFranco's election from 2020, it behooves you to read this. You have to read this. Go to breakthrough-ideas.com. Click on the read part. It's probably the first article that you're going to see, and you need to read the synopsis of what happened to judicial candidate Frank DeFranco in his election in 2020. He sued over it. The appellate court shot it down. He is probably headed to federal court to see if he can get some relief from that way. He's not giving up. He continues to fight. But when you read that, they completely violated the law because you get 14 days to count these ballots. They went 19 days, 5 days past the time when you can count ballots, and they got some sort of ruling saying that it was discretionary, that it wasn't a direct legal requirement that they stop counting after 14 days. 14 days to accept mail-in ballots is way too long. Even if you mailed it on Election Day, it should take far less than 14 days to get returned to the election authority. But not in Frank's case, they kept counting until they found that the Democrat won. You just can't make it up. So I highly encourage you to check into that one. Okay, we are going to take a break. We're headed into a discussion with Garrett Ziegler, the assistant to Peter Navarro. And Garrett was also subpoenaed in front of the J6 committee that Peter Navarro said, I've got executive privilege. I'm not going to talk to you. In this case, Garrett did. So we're going to talk about how his boss was when he went off to prison. Okay, be right back with you.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees a role reversal.
And you're going to cut this and you're going to clip this so that it's completely out of context.
She tweeted after she became a congresswoman that protests are about making people uncomfortable. Hey, Buttercup, how does it feel now? Do you feel uncomfortable?
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
In the fast-paced rhythm of life, where demands can be relentless and time is precious, prioritizing your well-being can be hard. Not to worry, Balance of Nature fruits and veggies supplements are convenient and easy to add to any schedule. Paired with eating more fresh produce, regular exercise, and a positive mindset, Balance of Nature fruits and veggies supplements can help you keep your rhythm. Whether it be excelling in your day-to-day or just living in the moment, start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonleyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donley, and I'll see you at the auction.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks for joining me this Sunday night. Okay, we're still trying to get Garrett on the phone. I know how it gets when you got little ones. Maybe he's just putting them to bed. But we're going to try and get him on the phone. In the meantime, this is Peter Navarro on Tuesday in Miami. Ahead of him, just going in, getting processed into prison.
The little story here is Navarro's going to prison today. You guys will certainly focus on that little story, but what I suggest to you as journalists is that there's two really bigger stories that you might want to report on and even do some research on, because these are big issues. This is not about me. One of the big stories is about what is really an unprecedented assault on the constitutional separation of powers and the doctrine of executive privilege as a critical tool dating back to George Washington's effective presidential decision-making. When I walk in that prison today, the justice system, such as it is, will have done a crippling blow to the constitutional separation of powers and executive privilege. The second and related story has to do with the emergence of lawfare and the partisan weaponization of our justice system, which we have seen come to this country with a vengeance since the coming of Donald John Trump as president, and that keeps getting worse.
Okay, so there you go. That's Peter Navarro, former Trump advisor, reporting to federal prison on Tuesday. It's really a travesty. We all know from reporting that's been recently pushed out that the J6 committee was just a scam, and it was a sham from the beginning, because first of all, they would not even sit McCarthy's picks to be on that committee. And so who went on there? Well, you had the big rhinos, of course, Adam Kinzinger from Illinois, and then Liz Cheney from Wyoming. So they sat there, and it was just a scam. And so Navarro says, no, I've got executive privilege, I'm not going to testify, and they decide to actually convict him for contempt of Congress. And so that's why he's getting sentencing. Steve Bannon, same sort of situation. He was also convicted of contempt of Congress, and he is out on appeal, though. So he didn't have to report to prison, but Peter Navarro, of course, they're saying, no, we're not going to hold up your sentencing. We're not going to hold up you serving your sentence, waiting on an appeal. So this is a big deal. And as you saw him, he sees it's a glaring disconnect between what the branches of government are responsible for. And presidents should be allowed to have their advisors. They don't see it that way. Another thing that was interesting, and this has been widely reported lately, is that the J6 committee allegedly falsely claimed it did not have evidence that showed former President Trump's administration requested National Guard assistance. But apparently they have found evidence that, yes, indeed, President Trump did request National Guardsmen to be there. This throws the entire J6 committee into question. First of all, they are accused of hiding transcripts, of trying to delete information that they took in during the committee hearings. And, okay, we got Garrett now? All right, we're going to bring in Garrett here, who actually worked with Peter Navarro, and see if he can give us any additional details about Navarro's reporting into prison. Garrett, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jeannie. Sorry about that. I haven't spoke to Peter directly, but the good news is that there's an adjacent lower security, what they call camp. So he's not in the main FCI building, which is good because, he's the only one there that has not committed a felony. He's the only misdemeanor there. That's number one, and it's just incredible. And number two, he's not in the main one, so I think he's not going to be spending as much time with violent people. Hopefully it's all non-violent. It's hard to even utter these words considering I worked for him for 2 years and never thought that it would come to this, but he's in the adjacent lower security camp thing, and knowing Peter, he'll probably be just hanging out in the library.
Okay, well, I mean, that is good news. He still has this stain of having been convicted of something that they refused to convict others of, having the stain of showing up to prison. I'm sure they had to do some sort of body search on him. I mean, it's just all problematic.
Oh, of course. And going
it's
back
very
to
traumatic.
the arrest, it is. And going back to the arrest, there's a particular FBI agent who was responsible for the manner of his arrest. I mean, going back to June of 22, when they put Peter in leg irons for a misdemeanor nonviolent contempt of Congress charge. His name is Walter Giordana, and he was involved in the Mueller fiasco as well. And Peter and his attorney explicitly told them that if they planned on filing contempt charges, to please let Peter know, because he will turn himself in, just like Hunter Biden did in all of these other high-profile cases. But they waited until, in fact, the FBI followed Peter, unbeknownst to him, to the Washington, D.C. Reagan Airport, and not only let him go into the airport, but let him go through TSA security, and then arrested him while he was boarding a flight to Nashville to invoke the most humiliating perp walk possible. I mean, that's the kind of animals we're dealing with, Jeannie, and it's disgusting. And to the degree that I can get Walter Giordana's, let's put it this way, if DJT does return to power, he's gone day one. I will make it my personal mission. It's not about vengeance, it's about justice. What he did was tyrannical.
Well,
he's
what he
a
did
non-violent offender.
Well,
Yeah.
same thing that they did to Mark Houck, showing up at his doorstep in the Pennsylvania woods where he's got 7 children sleeping, ramming on his door, guns drawn, multiple guns drawn, and disrupting his entire family. I don't know, and wouldn't even let him put on clothes. No, you can walk out in your shorts and your flip-flops.
Yes,
in
and
leg irons. I mean, they're doing this everywhere.
Leg irons, yes. And I think that one of the things that Peter and I lovingly disagree on is he had a Bivens case, because there's multiple court rulings in case law that says the government is to use the least restrictive means to detain someone. Whether, and that goes all the way down to subpoenas. Like, you don't subpoena things that you can get through other means, right? Because subpoena is the most extreme. It's compulsory.
That's right.
In the same vein, there's no way that Peter would ever defy, a lawful arrest warrant. So the idea that they had to go to the airport is preposterous. And I told Peter to file a Bivens claim. There's against Walter Giordana in his official capacity.
Yeah,
there's multiple times. Yeah.
How come the other side's so good at lawfare and we're not? I mean, that we do need to do much more of it. Tell me one more thing, because we only have about a minute left with you,
Okay.
Garrett. But I mean, you were also subpoenaed by that same committee. What do they want from you?
Yes. They're after Peter in the first place. So they wanted all the documents. They knew how close I was to Peter. Peter had 4 staffers, but 2 of which were particularly close to him, me and Joanna Miller. And so they just wanted documents. And again, I do not think that the committee was legally constituted, but I gave them all the documents, and then I just pled the fifth in the testimony. Because again, when people cite Eric Holder for contempt of Congress, it is a valid example, but this is an even more egregious case because Holder, as you know, was a cabinet official, and there's more case law compelling cabinet officials to testify to the Congress. Peter was a White House staffer, like the most intimate position that you can be. Peter was closer than I bet 85% of cabinet officials with Trump. And so they're not only breaking, precedent, but they're going to there is no the only closer example is the chief of staff. So I appreciate you allowing me on.
Well, hey, thank you for explaining that and adding a lot more clarity to the situation. We appreciate you. Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo is what he did, and he's being sued by Hunter Biden, so he's my hero. Thanks a lot, Garrett.
I'm Jack Callahan. In the wake of the Moscow terror attacks, rising fears that ISIS is growing bolder. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton telling Fox News Sunday Americans could be among the next targets.
We have millions of Americans who live or travel abroad throughout Europe and Asia, embassies, businesses there. So I'm deeply worried that ISIS from Afghanistan will end up targeting Americans sooner rather than later.
ISIS-K is the same group responsible for the bombing during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan that killed 13 American service members. The world watches to see if Israel will begin a military incursion into Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip as the latest ceasefire negotiations appear to have faltered, according to Fox's Trey Yingst in Israel, the U.S. urging Israel not to invade Rafah. America is listening to Fox News.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Governor Pritzker's State Board of Education policy is that public schools can socially transition and counsel children that they are a sex other than their biological sex without telling their parents. Send a message to Springfield that we will not allow the government to make decisions for our children without parental consent. Help Parents Matter Coalition get an advisory question on the 2024 ballot about parental rights. Visit parentsmattercoalition.org to get involved now. That's parentsmattercoalition.org. Paid for by the Parents Matter Coalition.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. At the State of the Union speech, President Biden claimed victory over inflation.
My inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world and tending lower.
Not so fast. This is a classic case of how to lie with statistics. Yes, inflation is down from 9%, but that means it got as high as 9%. When Biden took the oath of office, inflation was only 2.5%. Then it spiked all the way up to 9%, the highest in a generation. Now it's a little over 3%. So let's make it simple. Prices are 20% higher now than they were when he took office. It takes $1.20 to buy what used to cost $1. If we buy these lies again, your dollar is not going to buy much of anything soon. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Don, can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
The Real Story with Jeannie Ives continues on AM 560. The Answer.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks for joining me Sunday night. Okay, it's time for the Watchdogs. We're taking them a little bit out of their normal time slot. They usually are on at 8:35, but I had another guest who needed that spot. So we've got John Kraft and Kirk Allen on, and boy, they've got another doozy of a story from, another one of these small towns. Lady with a gambling problem, health administrator. And it's even more complicated than that, isn't it, Kirk?
Well, it's just really
sad.
This gal, she had everything going for her, registered nurse, solid background, been with the health department for years, watched the scandals that went through that same health department years ago that nobody was prosecuted, $4.3 million of fraud, and nobody would prosecute. It was all family connections, either to sheriffs or judges, the state's attorney. I mean, we even sat down with the state's attorney in the law library during that one.
And she was the whistleblower.
That's grant fraud.
She was the whistleblower on that part of it earlier, right?
Yeah, she was one that was fully supportive of exposing, what was going on back then. But the state's attorney sat right there and told us it was grant fraud, but he never did anything with it. And now we fast forward to, COVID time frame, and she became the health administrator. And according to the tips we were getting in, she was spending a lot of her time down at the gaming facilities during lunch hour and whatnot. But as that investigation moved forward, 33 felony counts, 6 of them Class X, either 6 or 8 Class X felonies. I mean, she's facing literally 275 years in jail. Now, we know that's not going to happen. But it's sad. The Attorney General is the one prosecuting it, not the state's attorney again. So I don't know what it takes to get state's attorneys to do their job, but everything seems to default to the AG's office that seems to have a selective pattern of what they do and don't prosecute when it comes to public corruption.
Well, I mean, when Lisa Madigan was in office, you got nothing out of the AG's office when it came to white-collar crime or public corruption cases. You got almost nothing.
Correct.
So that was,
Correct.
The AG's doing something, but you're right. What is with our state's attorneys' failure to prosecute some of this public corruption crime?
Now, this one's a doozy when you read through all of the indictments.
I mean, I think
a lot
even
of time card fraud.
I think Alderman Burks, that was a federal case as well.
Correct. That was federal.
That's right. Yes. So we're keep relying on the feds to prosecute crime.
But he gets to continue to practice law.
Yeah, well, talk about a tainted judiciary. The Illinois Supreme Court, 4 out of 7 sitting justices recuse themselves and refuse to make a decision on whether or not ex-alderman Ed Burke can keep his law license after being convicted of 14 counts on felony charges, including bribery and extortion. And they recuse themselves because they served with his wife. I mean, a recusal was always if you were going to take a more favorable position for the most part towards it. And in this case, I mean, all of them should have sat there and said, nope, you're out. So we need the Burke rule in Illinois. I'm still arguing for that, and I haven't seen anybody down there filing that yet. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm way off topic here, but so how much money did she apparently or allegedly steal for her gambling addiction?
Well, we're trying to wrap our hands around that because there's so many indictments. Several of them, point to over $100,000 in theft. Some outright grant theft. Some of it's time card theft, overtime. So I don't know what the actual dollar figure is until we can read the docket entries. The actual filing with the court. Typically a complaint that's going to give a lot more detail. But originally they said it was over $1 million. Now after we ran our article, for some reason Judici got updated the next day, and that $1 million was taken away, and now all of those counts just point to most everything's over $100,000. So I'm not sure if they're all tied to, 100,000 or more individually, or if it's a combination. They don't really, explain that in the docket or in the indictments. But to read through the indictments, it's just really sad to see that people that literally had everything going for them, there was no reason. And when we look at this gambling stuff, and this is an allegation that came to us, so I don't know if it's actually true, but we got a lot of tips that she had become, addicted to gambling. Well, I didn't know it, but we have in this state a state agency that handles addiction programs. They actually wanted to set up offices, one day a week at our fire station so they could counsel the addicted folks, that are addicted to marijuana and gambling. Well, we're the ones that passed this law to allow this stuff. So we create the problem, and then, gosh, we're going to run in with taxpayer money and offer the solution, and it's just crazy. It absolutely blows my mind how this stuff takes place, and nobody can see the damage that's being done with all these programs.
Well, actually, now they're counting on the revenue for their budget. That's what's
Right.
happening at the state, and they're actually very proud of the fact that they've got increased gambling revenue, increased marijuana taxes. So that's where they are in this.
I can tell you they're not paying attention to what it's doing to families and members of families in their communities, because we're seeing this all over the place. It is not good. It's not positive.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back to talk with John, the other Edgar County watchdog.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with the mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
And welcome back. It's Sunday night. Thanks for joining me. We're still on with the Edgar County Watchdogs, and John Kraft is going to bring us back up to date about that electioneering case over the school district referendum, with the Collinsville City fully supporting it on taxpayer-funded signage, and it looks to me like it's electioneering, John. What more have you found out about that case?
Well, we believe it's electioneering. It's the village of Maryville. Which is
Maryville, sorry.
Also in the Collinsville School District.
Okay, Collinsville School District.
On like February 7th, they passed a resolution urging people to vote in favor of the tax referendum and to distribute their resolution urging a yes vote to the local media outlets and make it available to all the public. They claimed it was a minor increase, but it was actually a 44% increase. I don't think that's a modest increase, but it's 44%. The State Officials and Employees Ethics Act describes prohibited political activity, and it says what you can't do, and they can't do what they did. The village even passed their own ethics ordinance prohibiting what they did in the resolution. The village attorney in the February 7th meeting is the one that presented the resolution. So what do you do if your attorney is going to present the resolution authorizing electioneering by the public body?
Well, do you know if the referendum passed?
Yes, it passed.
It passed. Okay.
Yeah.
By a large amount, or do you know by any chance?
I'm not sure how large it passed, but we do know it passed. And this isn't new. This happens all the time.
Right.
We just rarely get something this brazen out in the public, where they pass a resolution electioneering for somebody else's tax referendum.
Well, I mean, it's just something for voters to take note of. I mean, I don't know. Do you think that anybody's going to file any legal action against the town council on this?
Well, the only action you can file is an ethics complaint,
right,
with the city itself, and then I guess since the trustees all voted yes, they can't be on the ethics commission. But I would like to see somebody file an ethics complaint, have them stand up and appoint replacement ethics commissioners and review it and come to a finding. That's what needs to happen.
Or maybe an RADC complaint
against the lawyer.
attorney.
You could do that. The reality is, though, if you've got your town council all in to raise your property taxes, and you've got your school board all in to raise property taxes, the only solution is to take them out in election. And to not forget this. I mean, they're all hoping that, well, I just got elected 2 years ago. They're not going to remember this in 2 years when I'm up for election again. No, you have to remember who voted to raise your property taxes, especially in the state of Illinois. There's no reason to raise property taxes in the state of Illinois.
Or who one of the board members is.
None. What was that?
John, tell her who one of the board members are.
Who's one?
Julie Clark's a trustee. She was the FOIA officer for the Ford Iroquois Bi-County Health Department when we were exposing all that fraud, and she lived down in Maryville while she was allegedly working as the FOIA officer for the Ford Iroquois County Health Department.
3-hour drive away.
I was going to say, isn't that a long ways?
We would send a FOIA request. They would forward it to her down there in Madison County, and she would send the answers back.
So they couldn't find anybody in Ford or Iroquois to handle FOIAs up there and give somebody up there a job?
She was the one involved in the bid rigging that we found out through internal emails. They bought solar panels for the health departments in those 2 counties. Her husband was who they bought them from, his business.
Well, okay, connect the dots then. I need a story on that. And then we need to push it out to the people down there. It's just so pathetic. You can't make that up, what you just told me. She lives down in Maryville. She works up in Fort Iroquois County, 3 hours away. She's involved in this bid rigging with her husband. And now she's voting to raise everybody's property taxes.
Well, the bid rigging was internally with the office personnel. I don't know that her husband had direct knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes at the health department.
Oh, really? You don't think?
Yeah, well,
okay, all right. I'm a little more less
were.
naive than you. You're hedging your bets. Okay, allegedly.
Well, Jeannie, if you remember when Richard Irving ran for governor?
Yeah, I do.
We
How could I forget?
On electioneering, he had 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 county sheriffs all drive their sheriff vehicles to a central location to do a campaign commercial for him in uniform, standing in front of their sheriff's vehicles.
No, I thought that was Jesse. What's his name? Jesse.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Jesse who did that. Yeah,
so
he
it wasn't
did that.
Irving?
No, It was, what's Jesse's last name? I forgot. Whatever. It was him. He did it.
But yeah, it was this last governor
in 2022,
race.
It was him. He did that. I was shocked when I saw that commercial. I was like, wow, that's pretty brazen. I would never even ask. Well, because it's wrong. You can't do that. But I was like shocked. I could not believe, he's a little naive about how to run a race, and that showed up. That showed.
That was Jesse Sullivan.
Yeah, Sullivan, that's it. I don't know why I blanked on his name.
We asked his campaign about it. We told him it was a violation, and they said, well, we fully support our law enforcement. Well, you missed the point. This wasn't about supporting law enforcement. It was about the rule of law, and they all ignored it.
Whatever.
These people.
I tell you can't make it up. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so we talked about those 2 stories, but I think the most fascinating thing is how you connected the dots on that lady. What's her name again? White?
Julie Clark.
Julie Clark.
Julie
Okay.
Clark.
All right.
That was like 10 years ago we did that one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, look at this. 10 years ago, the lady's still around raising people's property taxes. Oh, good grief. Okay. All right. That's all we got time for tonight with you. We'll be back after this break. I got a little something to tell you about the court case that the watchdogs are involved in. And you know what? These guys have been taken on the chin for a decade, and we need to support them and back them up.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, Our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
You've heard about the thousands of patients finally getting relief from chronic joint pain thanks to QC Kinetics non-invasive treatments. And here's one who was determined to avoid surgery. Meet Vicky.
The orthopedic surgeon said, well, you're going to need knee replacement sooner rather than later. I kept hearing commercials about QC Kinetics and thought, well, I'm going to check them out first.
QC Kinetics has treated over 20,000 patients like Vicky around the country. People who were told they needed surgery but chose a more natural, less invasive approach that uses regenerative treatments to help heal and restore painful joints with no downtime.
If QC Kinetics had not been what I expected, I would have gone through with the surgery, but I got so much relief, am now pretty much pain-free that I don't have to have the surgery.
Before going under the knife, you need to check out QC Kinetics. The consultation is free. Call today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay. All right. This segment's always just a little bit shorter before we go to break. And I just wanted to bring something up to you. So back when the College of DuPage was on fire with a $730,000 buyout of Dr. Bruder's contract, and the people went nuts and things started to get investigated. And then you find out he's got a fancy wine cellar. And then you find out he's been, the taxpayers have been paying for his hunting trips, at least the phones to go on a hunting trip. And they've been paying for all sorts of other stuff, and the rules aren't being followed. And so the Edgar County Watchdogs came in and they started to do their own research. And in fact, they got front page expose by the Chicago Tribune. I mean, very positive press about the work that they've been doing around the state. And this was just one more example of it. Adam Andrzejewski came in and he started to do his own work too with Open the Books. He's always been about, where's the spending going? Show me your checkbook. Let's look into this. And so he started working on things as well. And, of course, a lot of this was spearheaded by Kathy Hamilton, who at that time was being silenced by her board. Eventually she becomes board chairman, though, after she wins some seats on that board. And I helped her do that, by the way. But in the meantime, one of the things that they had brought up is the fact that Carla Burkhart of Hurricane Graphics made herself out to be an architect when in fact she was not an architect. And so this particular part of this particular thing has been in dispute now for almost a decade. I mean, it's been in a court filing for almost a decade. And at the end of February 28th, there was a status hearing. And it was in DuPage County, and I had a free morning, and I said, I'm going to go listen in because I was informed. I ran legislation to help clean up this mess at COD. That legislation was later picked up and applied to all of higher education, the bills that I ran. The next year, of course, the Democrats had to steal them from me and say, oh, well, we're going to make this for all of higher education. So they stole my work, big deal. They do that all the time. But what I found very, very disheartening is that I sat in that hearing and I heard the attorney for Carla Burkhart essentially alleging that there was a big, massive conspiracy to defame Carla Burkhart between Adam Andrzejewski and Claire Ball, who no, not at all, and the Edgar County Watchdogs. And I mean, it was really hard for me to sit there and hear it because I know none of that's true. I know exactly how the whole investigation started. I remember the conversation that Kathy Hamilton had with me. She called me and said, I got to talk to you. And so she told me what was going on. And Bruder wanted $20 million. And he was going to give Quinn a thumbs up at a public meeting to get it. And that's how it all started. I know a lot about this. And I listened to that testimony. And from the attorney, I was like, appalled. So there you go. The Watchdogs are fighters. We need to be fighting with them.
We all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older.
but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you about a special lady, Leah from Ohio, and her Relief Factor story. One Sunday, Leah was sitting on the couch in so much pain she was literally in tears. That's when she decided to try Relief Factor. Just 8 days later, she found relief, and she continued to get better and better. To quote her, she said, "I am truly amazed at this product. Like me, who after 9, almost 10 years, almost a decade of lower back pain, lost that pain thanks to Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. Get the 3-week quick starter pack at relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. It all comes with the feel better or your money back guarantee. That number, 1-800-4RELIEF. relieffactor.com.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app. Or tell your smart
Terror suspects in courts. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. 4 suspects in the attack on a Russian concert venue appeared in a Russian courtroom Sunday, all of them from Tajikistan. According to Russian media, 3 of them admitted their guilt. The 4th did not speak. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack that left more than 130 people dead. Russia's President Putin called the attack a bloody, barbaric terrorist act, and in an address to his nation, he said that Ukraine could be involved in some capacity. But Vice President Kamala Harris on ABC's This Week was asked if the U.S. has any evidence that backed up President Putin's claim.
No, there is no whatsoever any evidence. And in fact, what we know to be the case is that ISIS-K is actually, by all accounts, responsible for what happened.
France has now increased its security alert to its highest level. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene telling Fox's Sunday Morning Futures her motion to vacate the chair of House Speaker Mike Johnson is more of a warning than anything.
I filed this motion to vacate, but I haven't called it to the floor. This is like issuing a pink slip and giving our conference a notice saying that we have got to find a new speaker. This may take weeks. It may take months.
Johnson was elected Speaker in the House in January after Kevin McCarthy was ousted. New Jersey's First Lady Tammy Murphy is pausing her U.S. Senate campaign to replace Democrat Senator Robert Menendez, who faces federal corruption charges.
After many busy, invigorating, and yes, challenging months, I am suspending my Senate campaign today. I have been genuine and factual throughout, but it is clear to me that continuing in this race will involve waging a very divisive and negative campaign, which I am not willing to do.
Murphy announcing her decision in a video posted on social media today. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Breezy, considerably cloudy overnight with low 42. Cloudy tomorrow, breezy, not as cool with a couple of showers on the way, mainly later in the day, the high 57 to kick off the new week. Rain at times tomorrow night. Into Tuesday, low clouds, breezy with a little rain in the morning, followed by a couple of showers in the afternoon. Tuesday's high 56. I'm Ruth O'Brien on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Attention, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Politicians in Illinois have taken away your parental rights. Parents no longer must be notified before your minor daughter is prescribed hormonal birth control or receives an abortion. We need to send a message to Springfield that we will not allow the government to make decisions for our children without our parental consent. Help Parents Matter Coalition get an advisory question on the 2024 ballot about parental rights. Visit parentsmattercoalition.org to get involved now. That's parentsmattercoalition.org. Paid for by the Parents Matter Coalition.
You want your basement to be dry most of the time? If so, Permaseal is not the company for you. At Permaseal, we believe your basement should be dry all the time, no matter how hard it rains. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. I've heard many homeowners say that their basement only leaks when it rains. Well, you don't worry about your living room or bedroom getting wet, so you should feel the same way about your basement. Call 800-421-SEAL. We offer a free estimate, no haggle pricing, and a price assurance guarantee so you can rest assured you're getting the best value. If you want your basement dry all the time, you know who to call, Permaseal. We've helped over 450,000 homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana since 1979 and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Best for and better Permaseal.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay, welcome back. Do not change your dial. You are absolutely going to want to hear this segment because, I don't know, it's going to be good news, bad news. We're going to find out. I have on the line with me the state's attorney, Patrick Keneally from McHenry County. But before we get to that, before we get to him, you know what a disaster it's been at the border. And I took this little clip from Ted Cruz's podcast, The Verdict, about that migrant stampede.
What happened this week in El Paso, we had over 100 illegal immigrants who broke through razor wire that the state of Texas had erected, and you had National Guardsmen that were standing there guarding it, trying to secure our border. And just this mob, they were simply outnumbered, and it was a mass that just runs over them, is knocking them down, and it's a surge that is happening. That is, I don't know what you call it other than an invasion. That's what this is, and the infuriating thing is this is what Joe Biden and congressional Democrats want to have happen. And you watch this video, you see the National Guardsmen trying to put their hands up, trying to hold them back, but there's simply too many of them, and they overwhelm them with their mass coming into this country. And this is happening, as I said, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, here's what Joe Biden says about all that.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Okay, so let me bring in Mr. Keneally, the state's attorney from McHenry County. So you've got military-aged men coming in droves. You've got, according to Fox News this morning on Maria Bartiromo, the migrants coming in from China. Last fiscal year, 52,700. This fiscal year so far, only October through February, 36,912. You've got what else do we have here? We've got lawlessness everywhere, and then you've got this judge, Sharon Johnson Coleman, who essentially said that a migrant in the country unlawfully who obtained a gun without a FOID card in an illegal street transaction and used it to shoot at other cars, it's just fine with her for him to have a gun. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you, Jeannie, very much for having me on your show. I spent all day white-knuckling it through the great state of South Dakota, which I understand is where you were
No,
born,
you didn't, because it's
on a
80
spring break
miles per
family
hour.
vacation.
It's 80 miles per hour in South
No,
Dakota.
no.
It was great.
No, but anyway, so what's going on with this is you have a judge who is coming up with, I think, probably a very selective reading of the Brune decision. And the Brune decision was a United States Supreme Court decision from a couple years ago, authored by Justice Thomas. And when looking at the Second Amendment, everybody has the right to self-defense. Looking at whether or not a regulation ultimately runs afoul of the Second Amendment, they look at two things. So the first thing is they look at whether or not the language of the Second Amendment itself covers the person who's being subject to the regulation at hand. And then they take a look at sort of the historical tradition of firearm regulation to see if the regulation at issue is consistent with that. So if we back up and go back to the first criteria that they're looking at, which is, are those here illegally covered by the Second Amendment? And this is a trickier question than many might otherwise think. And so the idea is that if the Second Amendment is a God-given right, then everybody should be covered by the Second Amendment. So if the idea is that every single person created by God with the human dignity of God, or if you're a secularist, granted with these sort of natural rights, and then you should be covered by the Second Amendment. And then the other question is, well, let's look right at the language of the Second Amendment. Does it apply only to citizens? And let's also consider the fact that in the Constitution, there are actually provisions. Look at the 15th Amendment, which restricts the right to vote only to citizens. So they specifically identified citizens in the 15th Amendment. The Second Amendment does not specifically identify citizens. It identifies the people. And so based on her analysis, under the Second Amendment, somebody who's in this country illegally is actually covered by the plain text of the Constitution. And then you go to the second factor, which is this type of regulation? So is the regulation that would restrict a person who's not here legally or a foreign national, is that consistent with the historical tradition of firearm regulation in this country? And the question and the answer that she came up with is no. So the regulation at hand is a federal law that prohibits somebody who is here illegally from having a firearm. It was passed, I wasn't able to find exactly when it was passed, but it was passed no later than the 1970s. She said, well, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, and I'm going to look at the entire history of the Second Amendment. And the first thing I'm going to point out is that loyalists, so those people that were loyal to the crown at the time of the Constitution, they were able to possess firearms if they swore a loyalty oath. She also looked at whether or not felons could possess firearms, and there is a restriction in the state of Illinois that if you commit a forcible felony over the last 20 years, you cannot possess a firearm in this state. But she said, but this guy's not necessarily a felon. Like, he's lived in this country for a number of years, and he hasn't had any other run-ins with the law prior to this. And so based on that, I'm going to find that not only is it covered by the Second Amendment, but it's not consistent with the historical regulation. Now, I don't necessarily think that's right. On the one hand, she seems to have unwittingly, I would say, undergirded the fact that the Second Amendment and the right to self-defense is a God-given right. But on the other hand, we continue to blur the distinction in this country between citizens and non-citizens.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. I mean, I'm not disappointed necessarily in her ruling, to be quite honest with you. What I'm disappointed in is the fact that he had all these other things that are unlawful according to state law, and it doesn't appear that he's being prosecuted for anything, like not having a Freud card, like, an illegal street transaction. I could not find, by doing searches, I could not find that he was going to be prosecuted for violation of state laws.
So he was in the state of Cook County, and they have their own sort of form of selective prosecution that goes on there. So I wouldn't hold your breath on the state charges. Now, he could be charged with unlawful possession of a weapon without a FOID card, because he could not get a FOID card unless somehow he proved that he was not here illegally. That's one of the criteria. But after this decision, if if anybody from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office charged this guy with unlawful possession of a weapon because he didn't have a FOID card, he can just try to bring this up to U.S. District Court and have that declared unconstitutional too, based on this particular ruling. But you're right. Like, you have all of these people. So in the state of Illinois, if you have suffered a mental illness, or if you have committed a forcible felony, if you were dishonorably discharged, so there's all these restrictions on who can and who cannot possess a firearm in the state of Illinois. The problem with people who are here illegally is we don't know anything about them. So you can have a U.S. District Court say, well, there's no evidence that he has ever been charged with a felony or domestic battery, or that there's an order of protection against him.
But he
we don't
didn't
know
have a
where
FOID
they've
card.
been, and we don't know what they've done.
But he didn't have a FOID card. He didn't even have a FOID card. He didn't register to get one. He didn't have one. If you're here, our understanding is that you have to have a FOID card to purchase a gun, to purchase ammunition, and certainly just randomly shooting at cars passing by. That's got to be some sort of crime.
Yeah, that you would.
That's what it said, though. That's what it said in the document. I think most people didn't realize it, that he was actually also found to have been just shooting at cars.
Right, which I think further undermines the U.S. District Judge's opinion that this is somebody who isn't part of a category that should be part of a suspect category that we can say should not be allowed to possess weapons. So it's a head-scratching decision in a lot of ways, especially based on the facts. But I think, again, as you well pointed out, this does gird up the Second Amendment in the state of Illinois.
I think everybody should basically cut up their FOID card and dare them. Dare people to come after me. Are you kidding me? This is insane. And then now you've got hundreds of people rushing the border. Just, they didn't care that they ran over Texas National Guardsmen. They didn't care that what they were doing was unlawful. And now there's actually there's articles up saying that law enforcement feel threatened by this ruling because it appears anybody who's illegal can just go ahead and possess a gun.
So so in addition to self-defense, one of the bases of the Second Amendment is to protect against a usurpacious government. So should the government break bad and turn tyrannical, you want an armed citizenry because that's a check on the government. So now if you're going to say, and you're going to have a U.S. District Judge say, and let's say that this decision becomes precedent, either because it goes to the Seventh Circuit and is affirmed, or other judges pick up on the reasoning. Now you're going to say that you have foreign nationals in this country who are all able to arm themselves, and their loyalty to the citizens of this country, as well as their loyalty to the state itself and the federal government, is certainly suspect. So so not only is the Second Amendment now being used, so the Second Amendment has sort of been turned into a Trojan horse, if you will, that would allow foreign actors to organize themselves and probably to train as well as possess firearms in this state, despite the fact that they have questionable loyalty.
Okay, I know that you went on spring break, so I just want to ask you about one more item, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so apparently Mayor Johnson is suing Glock because they have these devices that can turn a semi-automatic pistol into fully automatic, known as a Glock switch. Mm-hmm. And there's been a dramatic increase in these. And but I don't get it. I mean, in Blood Money, Peter Schweitzer literally quoted Illinois Sheriff Tom Dart, who said that these Glock switches, he's talking about them in this quote, he says, they're coming in boxes from China by the thousands and are very hard to stop. So why is he not suing China, the distributors, and everybody else, but the Glock, the manufacturers of the actual legal weapon?
Right, and not just that, but the Glock switch is illegal in the state of Illinois.
That's right,
so
it's illegal.
Exactly. So if you want to stop people from using Glock switches, start enforcing the law. Okay? Start putting violent criminals who would otherwise use these types of weapons behind bars. Start punishing them and start deterring other people from doing the same thing, as opposed to having this sort of press release type of lawsuit, which at the end of the day is going to have very questionable results.
Okay, he's State's Attorney Patrick Keneally from McHenry County, thank you so much for taking time to share all that information with us, because this is a confusing ruling and we need clear answers, and you gave us at least clear direction on where this could or could not go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and we'll be right back.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Meet Steve Fanity, who's been sitting in a Cook County jail in solitary confinement for 18 months.
What?
Over an unresolved 14-year-old divorce settlement.
Solitary confinement?
As we safety act all the criminals back on the streets, you don't have to worry about any more mayhem from Steve Fanity.
Start your day with Chicago's Morning Answer. Weekday mornings starting at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Balance of Nature makes a difference in my well-being and how I feel and everything. It's true. It makes a difference. If you take Balance of Nature, you have a happy day because you just feel a little better. It's like a restaurant in New Orleans. Her famous saying was, when you come to our restaurant, you leave a little happier than when you got here. And that's what Balance of Nature does. It lets your day be a little happier than it would be without the Balance of Nature.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. At the State of the Union speech, President Biden claimed victory over inflation.
My inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. Wages keep going up. Inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world, and tending lower.
Not so fast. This is a classic case of how to lie with statistics. Yes, inflation is down from 9%, but that means it got as high as 9%. When Biden took the oath of office, inflation was only 2.5%. Then it spiked all the way up to 9%, the highest in a generation. Now it's a little over 3%. So let's make it simple. Prices are 20% higher now than they were when he took office. It takes $1.20 to buy what used to cost $1. If we buy these lies again, your dollar is not going to buy much of anything soon. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeannie Ives.
Well, okay, back with you on this busy Sunday night. Wasn't Mr. Keneally just amazing? Okay, great information. There's another amazing person who wants to talk about what's going on in the migrant crisis. We picked up this clip. It's apparently a homeless man who's given the Chicago City Council a little piece of his mind.
I'm standing up for these homeless shelters that y'all got our people in that got mold, that got rats, that got roaches, bed bugs, etc. And y'all putting them in nice hotels. You know, what's going on with that? How's our people? Y'all that bring Chicago home needed to fail. And I pushed for it to fail. Because if you want to bring the citizens of Chicago home, them people that's already in shelters, especially our veterans, they died for us. They died for us. especially our veterans. Put them in CHA properly. House them. You ain't got to spend no dime as much as the millions and billions that been spent for these immigrants here, these migrants here, these asylum seekers here, which ultimately are illegal here. And there's people here that been going on the radar. They can't get a green card or work permit, and they've been here 20, 30 years. Seniors panhandling on the street because they can't get nothing. I'm for the people.
Okay, that's how a lot of people feel in Chicago. No doubt about it. Okay, we've got a caller. We've got MC from Northwest Indiana. Welcome to the program. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Ives, how you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, I'll tell you, a lot of your police departments use the Glock handguns and pistols. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you what, we had a lot of problems with the Glocks years ago. They backfired and so forth, and then they got them straightened out now. Because as of right now, they got that thing that goes into a machine pistol.
Yes.
Governor Holcomb passed that law. They could get them. Only law enforcement could get them. Get that kind.
Okay.
And if that police officer that got shot last year, I'll tell you, if she had that extension off to a machine pistol, she would have been still been alive today.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot for the call. I appreciate you listening in and weighing in on this. I mean, it just seems so ridiculous that he wants to sue the manufacturer of the pistol that's a legal weapon instead of going after the criminals who purchase them, going after the people who sell them, going after the Chinese who make these Glock switches. We know it's coming from them, and there's no lawsuit against China. While you're at it, Mayor Johnson, why don't you pursue a lawsuit on fentanyl against the Chinese, because they're the ones who are producing the precursors and sending it to Mexico for manufacturing, and also producing the pill molds that they sell to the Mexicans too. I mean, why is nobody going after the Chinese for all of this? Because Tom Dart said that, the sheriff of Cook County, he knows where the problem is, and nothing's being done about it. So again, thanks a lot for your call. I appreciate you weighing in on this. I mean, it's just really getting ugly out there. It was interesting. There was a meme that was circulating on Facebook, and I posted it because I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. But it essentially said, it had a guy, asking for a wake up call from the front desk at his hotel room, and the attractive lady behind the desk gives him a wake up call and says, "Well, here's your wake up call. Do you realize since Biden's been in office, there have been there's been a 6-fold increase in military-age men coming over the border compared to our military strength." And when you think about it, you know what? That's about right. That should be a wake-up call. Who's coming across the border? And now, according to this federal judge, they can all just be armed. And we already know that they're dangerous. There was another event, CWB Chicago had the article, and I don't have it up right now. Maybe I'll find it for you. But essentially, there was a UIC student who was just assaulted by a migrant too, brutally assaulted. But for the fact that there were some folks that intervened, she probably would have been killed. I mean, how much more are we going to take of this? Is it going to take another Lake and Riley in every community to wake that community up? Are you ready to say enough? And by the way, your state legislature is doing nothing about this. Nothing. They're just planning on how much more money they're going to funnel to non-citizens. You know, the price tag for that, for the non-citizen health care, is up to $1 billion now. Oh, yeah, they were going to put in all those cost controls. They didn't do anything to put in cost controls. Nothing whatsoever. While we're at it, the next time somebody says, oh, we need some more money. How about we need some more money for this program, that program, whatever it might be. I want you all to remind people that Governor Pritzker, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, Governor Pritzker gave Goshen Incorporated, which is a company. They want to say they're an American company. I'm going to tell you right now, their president is a Chinese communist named Chen Li, and he's the one whose signature is on the document, the DCEO document, Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity document that he and Pritzker signed together to give Goshen Incorporated $536 million to build an EV battery plant in Manteno. Well, Goshen was just in court on March 15th. And they were in court because they were asking for dismissal of a case against them by concerned citizens of Manteno over the rezoning application for the property that they're going to occupy and turn into this EV battery plant. Also in that lawsuit was the village of Manteno, I think the mayor of Manteno, and economic development chairman for Kankakee County, something like that. And sure enough, on page 24 of the Goshen response saying, look, there's been no harm, no foul. There's been nothing done. They have no lawsuit. And why did they say that? They said that because at this point, this is actually Goshen writing to the court. At this point, not only is the Goshen project not operational, but construction has not even begun and building permits have not been issued. Okay, we had heard that that was the case. We didn't know that definitively that was the case. Now we know from Goshen that nothing's been done. And yet Governor Pritzker gave them $50 million on December 8th, cut them a check from the comptroller. $50 million of your money to Goshen, boom. And then $75 million on January 2nd of this year. No work done, nothing. I'll be right back with you.
Brandon Tatum is hearing the same old story.
What did that ghostwriter do with the information Joe Biden shared with him on his laptop? What did he do after you were named special counsel?
He slid those files into his recycle bin on his computer.
Tried to destroy the evidence, didn't he?
And here we go with Biden, doing the same soup warmed over. Are we witnessing another Hillary Clinton?
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. After the terror attack in Moscow, there are growing concerns about security at the U.S. southern border.
There is a trafficking network out there that specializes in moving people. They do it for profit, moving people and migrants around the world, including across our southern border, who have links to ISIS. They would most certainly use it to move operatives into the United States.
But Senator Marco Rubio says he is not aware of any specific threat. The chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee is confident Speaker Mike Johnson will bring aid for Ukraine to the floor for a vote.
I believe he's committed because he understands national security. He leans on, myself, the chairman of Armed Services, House Intelligence, for advice on this, and he knows how important this is.
Congressman Michael McCall tells CBS's Face the Nation a vote could come after Easter. America is listening to Fox News.
Listen, road rage is escalating on Chicago's expressways. Road rage drivers are using guns to shoot at other drivers. So when driving, be aware and stay calm. A driver with road rage may have a gun. And if you encounter road rage, don't engage.
Sponsored by the Illinois State Police. Aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Guevalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
It's Reveille. The bugle call you just heard is known as first call. It's played to assemble the trumpeters for the playing of Reveille. Reveille is then played as a wake-up call to the troops. My 2-minute messages are a wake-up call to listeners. It doesn't matter what rank you are. When Reveille sounds, you are to immediately halt in place and stand at attention until the bugler stops. Reveilles aren't just for privates. Generals need a wake-up call too. And at West Point, the superintendent, a 3-star general, and his advisors are hearing a reveille from across the nation with their announcement of the latest change to the West Point mission statement. Folks were shocked that a new mission statement no longer directly states that there is a commitment to duty, honor, country. Instead, there is a commitment to Army values. To be fair, the mission statement has been revised a number of times in the last century, and a commitment to duty, honor, country did not appear in the mission statement until 1998. But it is utterly tone deaf to, in secret, delete these hollowed words, as General MacArthur referred to them, and at a time when West Point is being scrutinized for its lapses in the honor code, its instruction in diversity education, and is also facing lawsuits for racial discrimination in admissions. Our country needs places where long traditions and oaths of honor are taken seriously and strictly adhered to. We need institutions set apart to be deep repositories of commitments to honorable service to our nation. Graduates may not live up to the high standards set by the motto Duty, Honor, Country. Some would argue that even General MacArthur failed to do so. And there may be disputes as to what that means in a practical sense. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't aspire to duty, honor, country and all that it embodies. I'm Jeannie Ives. Be informed. Listen to my radio show on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay. Welcome back. Thanks a lot for joining me on this Sunday night. This is going to be another really illuminating segment. It always is. Somebody turns the lights on in Illinois, and it's not really wind and solar. It's people like Steve Gorham, who we've had on before, but I specifically asked him to come on because there's some crazy bills going on in Springfield. But first of all, let me just tell you a little bit about Steve. He's the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and the author of 4 books on energy, climate change, sustainable development, and public policy, with over 100,000 copies in print. His latest book, Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewable Energy Failure, came out August 1st of last year. Steve, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Hi, Jeannie. Great to join you again.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here, but I want to get to the first thing that I did kind of call you up about, and that's this bill, HB 3141. And the concern to me is that it actually passed out of committee. It was amended too, by the way, on its way to doing that. And just briefly, what it says that essentially the Department of Central Management Services of the Civil Administrative Code of Illinois, it provides that the department shall establish a maximum acceptable global warming potential standard for state purchases of vehicles, appliances, and building materials for use in state-funded infrastructure projects. Now, an amendment was filed with that, taking out vehicles from having to be, determined whether or not what their maximum acceptable GWP is. I mean, everything's got lingo to it. But what is a global warming potential standard? This sounds like made up language.
Well, global warming potential, it's really not a good measure, even for carbon dioxide that is in something. It's a lab term, and it refers to the amount of infrared radiation that a greenhouse gas can absorb. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I think they set carbon dioxide as a GWP of 1. It can absorb 1 unit of infrared radiation in the lab, and again, they are connecting this to the greenhouse effect in the atmosphere, where when we have sunlight comes in, what isn't deflected by clouds is absorbed by the surface of the Earth, and the Earth gives off lower energy infrared radiation. Most of that going out causes molecules and greenhouse gases to vibrate. It's absorbed, and that's what this GWP relates to. But it's really a poor measure.
Well, can you even measure it? I mean, is this just kind of like everything else that comes out of there?
Unfortunately, what happens in the lab is not equal to what happens in the atmosphere. And probably the biggest problem is methane. Methane is often stated that it has a global warming potential of 80. The United Nations has said 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. But again, that's in the lab. And what it does in the atmosphere is nowhere near that, because the atmosphere is already saturated with methane at the frequencies at which outgoing infrared is absorbed. And it's a little like painting a house. You know, if you have just a wooden house, the first coat of paint on, wow, you change the color. Second coat of paint, you can see the difference as well. But by about the fourth or fifth coat of paint, it doesn't do anything. There's no discernible measurement. And that's the problem. That's the thing we have with methane right now. The atmosphere is saturated with methane. And so we have all these laws going into effect on methane, and we got the state of Illinois talking about GWP, and that's going to say, wow, methane's really bad. But it does not relate to what goes on in the atmosphere, so it's divorced from reality. So GWP really is a poor measure, even if we do have a problem with man-made global warming, which we don't.
Well, I mean, it also just seems very complicated. So they're going to, is there some sort of underwriter's laboratory that measures every single appliance out there and says, oh, this is your GWP? I mean, how are they going to do this? I mean, how are they going to do this?
For example, when you make cement, which is the fundamental ingredient inside concrete, cement is mostly produced, about 99%, with calcium carbonate. You take calcium carbonate, which is limestone sort of thing, and you run it through a series of ovens, and you produce cement. You produce cement, which goes into concrete. Well, when you're producing a cement, you use these ovens, and they exhaust carbon dioxide. The calcium carbonate, the carbonate disappears in the atmosphere. So if you're going to produce cement, you're going to exhaust carbon dioxide. So maybe they're not going to build any buildings with cement anymore.
Yeah, that's just insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so yeah, because they said that they're going to apply GWP to building materials, and you just perfectly explained how they're essentially going to have us all living in, I don't know, sod houses like we're in the 1860s.
Yeah, well, there's nothing that we build in society now that doesn't emit carbon dioxide. Absolutely nothing. I think I've mentioned on your show before, if you build a building and you put copper into it, you put glass into it, and ceramic and steel and wood and concrete, all of those things emit carbon dioxide when they are created and when they're transported. Everything does. So there's nothing net zero. It's a completely fallacious concept.
Okay, let's talk about another bill that they came up with, and this bill essentially wants the Illinois to adopt California's advanced green fleet standards and regulations, which means that you're going to essentially make all these big trucks be electric in the future.
Yeah, it's crazy. So as of the first of the year in California, they passed the ACF, the Advanced Green Fleet, which requires all heavy trucks that are registered with the state as of the first of the year, and they've relaxed it a little because it's basically impossible, but that's what the bill says, to be zero emissions, which means electric. We don't really have good hydrogen trucks. And this is for any truck that is picking up a container, for example, from a port and driving it to a railhead, or any company that has heavy trucks with 50 or more trucks, so all the big companies, and then any state organizations that are buying truck. So the problem is, and I'm going to give some data here from the guy who was the head of the I think it was National Trucking Association, who testified in front of Congress last summer. So the electric trucks just aren't anywhere near what a diesel truck does. A diesel truck you can fuel for 15 minutes and it'll go 1,500 miles. An electric truck takes 2 or 3 hours to charge and it'll only go 300 miles. The electric truck costs 2 or 3 times as much as a diesel truck. The electric truck weighs 10,000 pounds more, which comes out of your freight. And there's no chargers around. There was a company that wanted to put one near Route 80 and Route 57 in Joliet, and they figured out it was going to take as much electricity for this truck's charging station as the entire city of Joliet. If they were going to put it into place. So there aren't any of these chargers around the country, yet the state of Illinois, and by the way, there are 19 states that are suing the EPA over this California law, and they're suing California as well because they want to get it reversed because it's going to really damage trucking companies and damage our transport of goods.
Okay, hey, Steve, we've got to take a quick break, and I want to come right back with you because there's a few other questions I have for you, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hard-working military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
When I go out, I take a bottle of each because sometimes I end up talking to people in the restaurants here. Someone looking at them, I say, oh, this isn't a Christmas decoration, this red and green. This is my balance of nature. I tell people all the time, I'm happier and I feel better. I love this product. It's done so much for me, it's not even funny. And don't think I'm not talking to everybody that I know about it.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay, don't go anywhere. It's Steve Gorham on the line with me, and he's just pumping out like great information about important policy choices before us right now as a nation, as a state, in your localities. I mean, this green energy stuff is being forced down the throats of every elected official, and too many people don't know the facts and they don't know how to say no. And I'll tell you what, I mean, Pritzker's out there lauding the fact that now he just got $14.9 million in a federal grant to install 273 new charging stations in Illinois. I mean, I think he spent probably a good $50 million last year on this. So they're just keeping on going with this stuff. And and nobody's buying it though. And so we've got some problems here. So Steve, I did want to talk to you about this though. You have pointed out in your recent article that the green energy goals conflict with electric power and how it's really going to be given to the last down the line to the consumer. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So the net zero program says we need to get rid of all coal and natural gas, at least for electricity. Mm-hmm. And so that's what many states are driving toward. Today, about 59% of the U.S. electrical power comes from coal and natural gas, about 16% coal and the rest natural gas. So they want to shut all those down, try and build wind and solar. At the same time, like they want to do in Illinois, they want everybody to switch to electric cars. Huge increase in demand. Then they're saying, oh, we want you to get rid of your gas water heater, your gas stove, and your gas furnace, and put in electric for that. Another huge increase in demand. And then they say, oh, we want to produce green hydrogen everywhere. They produce green hydrogen with vast amounts of electricity. They break down water.
They forget about that. Yeah.
Another huge thing in demand. And then at the same time, we got a artificial intelligence revolution going on. Data centers are increasing their electricity consumption by 6 to 10 times. These things just aren't going to happen. This is all going to crash. And
well, maybe this is a dose of reality. I mean, I read this article, Wall Street Journal, a new Panasonic EV battery plant in Kansas that will receive billions of dollars in subsidies from the Inflation Reduction Act is forcing a local utility to keep open a coal plant that was scheduled to close. Come on.
I mean, it's just goofy. You want to hear one of the craziest things? I'm kind of behind the times, but last month, the World Health Organization called for a global ban on meat and dairy products.
Oh, jeepers. Well, no, we have a fake meat plant. We have two fake meat plants here in Illinois. We have one down in Decatur that got big $1 million grants from the state. Okay. And we have another one up in, I think it's one of those G words like Gurney, maybe it was. But they're building fake meat too in a test tube. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we got to shovel money from all this stuff from the Fed. All your tax dollars are going into all these goofy stuff.
But let's talk about this because the entire EV market is imploding right now. Rivian's halted construction on its $5 billion plant in Georgia. It laid off 10% of its salaried workforce. The Wall Street Journal was speculating whether or not just Rivian, but other, smaller EV companies are going to make it to the finish line. I mean, this is not good at all. They're all bleeding cash big time. And then you've got the CEO of Hertz Rental Cars who resigned last week. So what's up with the EV market?
Stephen Scherr, the CEO of Hertz, was forced out of his position. Mm-hmm. He's been with the company for 2 years. He was the guy who went out and said, we're going to buy 100,000 Teslas and 100,000 EVs from GM. And this last quarter, they lost $245 million on EVs, because nobody wants to – they only purchased about 60,000, but nobody wants to rent these things. Even people that drive EVs, if they can't charge at home, they don't want to go out and rent them and try and mess around with the public charging. And then the value of used EVs dropped 30% in the U.S. last year. And so what their accountants did, they wrote down all these EVs they've got because the value went down by 30%. So it's just a tremendous boondoggle. What a black eye for the EV industry.
Mm-hmm. It totally is a black eye. And speaking of the EV industry, I had spoken earlier about this whole Goshen EV battery plant in Manteno, which is kind of down where you live. And that battery plant literally is being built to help supply companies like Rivian. But Rivian, I'm telling you, folks, it does not look good. They're bleeding cash. I can't remember, but I think they went from $50 billion down to $6 billion. They do that. I mean, I don't see them surviving much over this year.
Tesla is the only one in the U.S. that is going to be viable, I think, outside of a big firm. And then the other thing that's going on is all these charging companies. If you look at them, they all went public, and they're down about 90%, their stock value now. They've been dropping the last 3 years. And the big secret is you can't break even on an EV charging deal. today people do 80% of their charging at home, and then they need a little bit when they go out. It's sort of like if let's say you fill up all your gasoline at home, and so we drop the volume of gasoline in all these filling stations by 80%. They couldn't make any money on their gas pumps either.
Yep.
This stuff isn't going to happen unless we have massive federal dollars all the time shoveling money to this industry, which that's not the way to run. This won't be a capitalist business.
Not at
EV
all.
charging.
Okay, so your book, we're headed to a new green renewable energy failure. Where can people get that book?
Yeah, for my website, Steve Gorham, GOREHAM.com. I'll send them a signed copy. It's on Amazon and bookstores, of course. So there are there are ebooks, not EVs, ebooks available as well. But they need to grab those and be able to push back at the politicians where they want to build a wind facility or a solar facility in their community. Just not going to do anything for the planet and bad policy.
All right. Well, Steve, I'm going to talk to my Republican friends. I want you down in Springfield testifying in front of the Energy and Environment Committee and the Public Utilities Committee. You've got your wealth of knowledge, and we so appreciate you on this program. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Okay. Thanks, Jeannie.
Okay. And we'll be right back. We've got a couple really good calls that have come in, and we're going to take those calls and close out the night.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. At the State of the Union speech, President Biden claimed victory over inflation.
My inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world, and tending lower.
Not so fast. This is a classic case of how to lie with statistics. Yes, inflation is down from 9%, but that means it got as high as 9%. When Biden took the oath of office, inflation was only 2.5%. Then it spiked all the way up to 9%, the highest in a generation. Now it's a little over 3%. So let's make it simple. Prices are 20% higher now than they were when he took office. It takes $1.20 to buy what used to cost $1. If we buy these lies again, your dollar is not going to buy much of anything soon. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeannie Ives.
Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. I wanted to talk to Greg real quick from LaGrange. Greg, what's up?
How you doing?
Good.
How you doing? What do you do with a government that has laws on the books that refuses to apply the law? The laws are here to protect us against these companies hiring illegal immigrants and having them go out and commit crimes. But yet, nobody's doing anything.
Greg, I know it. You know what? My next caller, I think Kevin from Austin, Texas, has that answer. And the answer is we have to win elections. We have to take these people out of office. Greg, I appreciate your phone call. We're going to listen to Kevin real quick. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Jeannie, thank you for taking my call, and I hope you're being careful when you're driving by cement trucks.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
and I just want to apologize. I'm sorry I ran short on time to take these calls, but I did want to hear from you.
No, I thank you. No, I appreciate it. So in Illinois 14, the primary turnout for Democrats was 30,985. For Republicans, it was 30,964. That's a difference of 21 votes alone. And then Illinois 11 too. It was pretty close. So my point is, people got to get involved in the win election.
That's
Trump,
right.
It doesn't matter. He's going to be gone. So it's win elections, get involved. I wish you would have other precinct chairs on your that you deal with, because I know you won, and then ask them, what's their experience like? How much time do they have to put in? What do they have to do?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just recruited a new precinct committeeman in Milton Township, and I've been a Milton Township committeeman now for 20 years. Wow, I started in 2004. So, that is the answer is to win these back locally, to know your friends and seek conversations with them and make sure that they're an informed voter. And that's what we have to do. And you know what? If people want this mess, they're going to get this mess. And then your only other solution is to move to a state where you don't have to, at least you can have some protection against it. And I know, Kevin, you moved. So, hey, thanks a lot for joining me tonight on the Real Story with Jeannie Ives. I really appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next week.
We all know that aches and pains come with simply getting older, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it. That's why I want to tell you about a special lady, Leah from Ohio, and her Relief Factor story. One Sunday, Leah was sitting on the couch in so much pain she was literally in tears. That's when she decided to try Relief Factor. Just 8 days later, she found relief, and she continued to get better and better. To quote her, she said, "I am truly amazed at this product. Like me, who after 9, almost 10 years, almost a decade of lower back pain, lost that pain thanks to Relief Factor. If you're living with aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, could help you feel and live better every day. Get the 3-week quick starter pack at relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. It all comes with the feel better or your money back guarantee. That number, 1-800-4RELIEF. relieffactor.com.
This is Chicago's election station. AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app or tell your smart speaker.
Moscow massacre suspects in court. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. A Moscow court has ruled that 4 suspects in Friday's deadly concert hall attack should be put into custody for 2 months pending trial. Today, Russia observed a national day of mourning.
Over 130 people dead from what Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling a bloody, barbaric terrorist attack. And some new information for you. We're learning, according to Reuters, that one of the suspects was brought into court in Moscow. But this Islamic State group that says it's responsible for this attack, it's ISIS-K, and U.S. officials confirmed that it's the same group that was responsible for killing those 13 Americans at Abbey Gate during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. A massive memorial is growing outside Crocus City Hall, where the attack happened.
Fox's Madison Scarpino. A few changes for Pope Francis during his Palm Sunday Mass at the Vatican.
Pope Francis, at the last minute, deciding to skip his homily during Palm Sunday Mass in St. Peter's Square, avoiding a strenuous speech at the start of a busy Holy Week. The 87-year-old pontiff has been hobbled by bad knees and respiratory problems. He also opted not to take part in the procession of cardinals, instead blessing the palm fronds and olive branches carried by the faithful from the altar. He did deliver longer remarks at the end of the Mass, offering prayers to the families of those killed in last week's attack at a suburban Moscow concert hall. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
Shohei Ohtani plans to speak to the media Monday for the first time since the illegal gambling allegations involving the baseball star and his interpreter emerged last week. That interpreter has been fired. America is listening to Fox News.
Dennis Prager explains the left's strategy.
From the Wall Street Journal, the NIH, that's National Institutes of Health, sacrifices scientific rigor for DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Isn't the left always telling you follow the science? It's just a lie. Wherever there is controversy, they say what works, not what is true. They don't follow the science.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Don, can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost,
Turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
The following is a pre-recorded program. AM 560, The Answer.
A new generation of conservative talk. Right here, right now. Fair, fun, and backed by the trusted voices and reporting resources of Fox News. Fox News. You're listening to The Guy Benson Show. And now, here's your host, Guy Benson.
It's a new hour here on The Guy Benson Show. Happy Friday. Thanks for listening. GuyBensonShow.com. Podcast always free on demand when the show is over, plus bonus Benson on the weekends. Catch me on Fox News Sunday. I'm on the panel this weekend. Check your local listings. Fox News alert as we head into our middle hour. The Dow losing a lot of the ground that it gained yesterday, down 305 points at the close, ending the week at 39,475. And with that, joining us from our New York studios is Jesse Waters, host of Jesse Waters Primetime, of course, 8 p.m. Eastern, Fox News Channel, co-host of The Five, and author of the brand new book, Get It Together, Troubling Tales from the Liberal Fringe. Jesse, it is good to have you here. Congrats on the book.
Thanks so much, Guy.
So I just want to start with this. Who do you have going all the way in your bracket?
I didn't fill it out. I have too much to do.
A little busy?
A little busy with 2 shows in the book.
You just fill out Trinity Bantams all the way. They're not in the field, but that's okay. Go Bantams. You have this book out. You helped sort of tease that this was coming months ago on this program. You talked about the title, Get It Together. I know it comes from your mother. Give us the primer there.
Well, my mother used to look at me often and just say, Jesse, get it together. And everybody knows what that means. That means shape up, stand up straight, and stop acting like an idiot. And many families don't say that to their children. They let their children walk all over them, and that is if they're even around their children. Many of the people I spoke to for the book, they had barstool dads or no dads or abusive dads. And so we have now a generation of people who are fringe characters with issues, and they're not taking any responsibility for their own issues. They're saying society is the issue. I'm not the issue. We need to remake society so I feel better about my issues. But we can't do that, Guy, because their problems have become our problems, so they need to get it together. And we need to stop being so scared to tell people no, to tell people to knock it off and to get it together. We're so terrified of stigmatizing people or judging them. How dare we judge them? But we need to bring judgment back, and we need to say no. We need to tell this crew, get it together.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake's bringing sexy back. Jesse Waters is bringing judgment back. And I think that's, there's something to be said for it, though, because, look, we should be compassionate, and you can be a good person and have empathy and all of that. But sometimes when someone has a problem or an issue, it is not our issue collectively. It is not a socialized problem. It's their issue.
That's exactly right. We do not need a social revolution because you need to see a therapist. So you speak to people who want to legalize drugs. Just because they like doing drugs doesn't mean we should legalize drugs. I spoke to people who want to legalize prostitution. Just because you're a sex worker doesn't mean we should legalize sex work. And the list goes on and on. We speak to open borders advocates. We speak to people who want to empty the prisons. You can have an opinion, and that opinion can be completely irrational. But we don't all have to accommodate your personality problems. That's not what society is here for. Society has been pretty effective over the last 1,000 years. All of a sudden, since you have an issue, we're not going to change for you.
Yeah, we don't need all of society to be remade in the name of your neurosis.
Right. And we're realizing everybody has a lot of neuroses.
Yeah.
And it's not society's problem to accommodate them.
The book, as I mentioned, is called Get It Together. It's going to be a big hit. The subtitle is Troubling Tales from the Liberal Fringe. So explain again the concept of the book. You're talking about how you went and interviewed people. Did you find, like, Looney Tunes type figures on the hard left and go and interact with them and then write down their quotes?
What I did was I listened for the first time in my life. At age 45, Jesse Waters found out listening's probably a pretty good asset.
It's a good skill.
I've been talking over people so much or thinking what I'm about to say while someone else is talking, and it's not very effective. So I found about 24 of the most fringe characters, toad smokers, Stalinists, people that toppled statues.
Sorry, what is a toad smoker?
Well, that's someone that takes a sacred toad from a reservation in Mexico, secretes the venom, and then smokes
an actual,
it.
like, frog-type creature.
Correct, an amphibian, and then gets high and sees God. And so I spoke to these people for hours. I listened more, and they told me their life story, their deepest, darkest secrets.
Why?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
Why did they talk to you, let alone divulge anything?
Well, would you talk to me?
Probably not.
Probably not. But these people are narcissists, and they want people to listen. And so I did listen, and I silently judged. And then we wrote down everything they said, and then I created chapters around them. So you have a chapter about someone who sits in traffic to block cars from getting to work because the climate's about to die because of fossil fuels. We talk to people, homeless junkies. We talk to drag queens And when you hear their life story, you realize these are not well thought out logical ideologies, guy. These are not, I read John Locke and I discovered that these are people that have emotional trauma and they have no reasonable explanation for their ideology. It's just kind of lashing out, daddy issues, revenge fantasies, and it starts making sense. And these stories are hilarious. They're tragic. They're in graphic detail. And it really gives you a fuller understanding of why we're in the place we're in.
So I'm reading some of the examples of the people that you spoke to, and you used the word hilarious. Some of these are more lighthearted and would lend themselves to humor, but then the sub-headline of the book involves the word troubling. I mean, this minor attracted persons situation, just kind of pedophilia apology.
Yes.
That is not funny. That is really, really upsetting and disgusting, and there is a growing fringe that's trying to somewhat normalize some of that, which is something that just sits in my gut in a horrible way. Talk about that, because that definitely is on the troubling end of the spectrum here.
Do you remember NAMBLA? Well, this is trying to make NAMBLA more palatable. So you have someone who's an advocate for pedophiles. He calls them minor attracted persons and says this is a natural attraction. All adult men are attracted to young girls. He says he knows this through experiments that have been done where they've strapped nodes to people's organs and then they showed them a middle school cheerleader and they were aroused. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we have to stop stigmatizing. And you're right, they are trying to remove the stigma from pedophilia. And this guy, of all the guys I interviewed, this guy made me the angriest because he's either a devious predator or he's oblivious to the fact that his organization is being used as a cover for some really sinister and sick individuals.
Yeah, I don't think there's no way you're ignorant of that. Right. I mean, I think I'm not one to immediately judge motives. I'm willing to make that leap in this case. There are certain stigmas that matter more than others. And I think one of the biggest red line stigmas in society is that one.